Outlaw Law is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law. Your law firm for life.
Welcome back into the Outlaw Lawyers. Your host, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners at Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm, practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. Offices conveniently located in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, Gastonia, and now in Morehead City. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We talk legalese each and every week. We also have some fun, but we get into the serious topics as well. And the first one up, we all remember Nirvana, their first album that really went big, had a picture on the cover, and apparently we're going to talk about it. Nirvana and naked babies, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what I titled this segment, and so this has come up a time or two before. But the story right now is the baby on that Nirvana. So I remember that. So 91, that was like early high school for me. But I remember when that came out because up until then, a lot of hair metal out there, and Nirvana kind of changed that, kind of brought the grunge on. So that was a big album. I think I saw they've sold over 30 million copies. Everybody's familiar with the Nevermind album from Nirvana in 1991. Joe, you familiar with that? You know about that?
Nirvana. Is it a Hindu band? Yeah, no, I'm familiar, man. Well familiar. I don't know how you can be my age or, I don't know how you could not be familiar with that.
So you'll recall that album cover is kind of an iconic album cover. And
Very iconic,
it's got a baby. I can't remember how it's a baby, right? It's underwater. And the genitals of the baby you can see, right? I guess it's a naked baby,
front and center.
They're not hiding anything.
Yeah, baby boy, correct?
Right, baby boy. Let's be clear, it is a baby boy.
And so Spencer Eldon, that's the name of that baby, and he's now 31 years old, which is hard to process that baby could be 31 years old, but he has sued Nirvana, or the surviving members of Nirvana, Cobain's estate. He's done this once or twice. There's been a couple of lawsuits pertaining to this, but the most recent effort was under a law that I was not super familiar with, but Masha's law. I might be pronouncing that. It's named after a victim of child pornography. So it's a federal law that is giving victims of child pornography a way to sue the folks who created the pornography or trafficked it or distributed it for civil damages. And so that's a big news story. He filed against Nirvana saying like, hey, this was child pornography. It was distributed 30 million times and it's changed. I've suffered damages and what have you. But Joe, have you seen this story? This is not one I kind of delved into it yesterday because I wasn't super familiar with this law, this federal law. Wanted to know more about it, but it's kind of a crazy story.
Well, Josh, I haven't seen this story. Not ashamed to say my social media algorithm doesn't pick up the hot words child pornography.
Right.
Not saying that's how I came up on yours, man, but no, haven't seen anything about this. Very relatable story because I actually was a naked swimming baby boy at one point in my life. So, I can, and here's the thing, man. At the time, that, like you said, iconic album cover, I don't really recall that giving me pause at the time, like seeing it at the time in the context. But like you think about today and like, say you've got a random naked baby, like a picture on your phone, like that's a substantial issue for you, right? But you're talking about a CD that, like you said, purchased by millions of people. So it's an interesting thing, man. And I think it's interesting to look at the changes in societal norms and things like that.
So just to give you some background, again, and I've said this before, but if there's a way to mispronounce your name, I'm going to find it. So if I ever mispronounce your name, know that I've done it to a million people before you. But Masha's law is a federal law from 2005 that was named after a 5-year-old orphan who was adopted. Was a Russian orphan who was adopted by an American man who got convicted for producing sexually explicit images of her. And what it allows the victim to do is to sue the person responsible. They don't want, there doesn't have to be a criminal conviction, but they would have to prove in a court of law that this was done and this person was responsible if there's no conviction. But it has a statute of limitations, and that's 10 years after the victim turns 18, or 10 years after it's discovered the violation or the injury. So whatever happened, 10 years after it should reasonably be discovered. And looks like Mr. Eldon's lawsuit was kicked out of federal court because the statute of limitations had passed, because he should have reasonably known about it when he was 18. There's 10-year statute of limitations. So after he turned 28, you don't even get to the merits anymore, right? When a lawyer sues under something like this, under a statute, the statute kind of lays out what you have to prove. And if you don't even get to the basic elements of something, statute of limitations just kicks you out. And so it got thrown out. He's appealing it. His attorneys are arguing that the statute of limitations is unfair. And maybe, I think their example was, if somebody had created this kind of pornography, they could just wait out the statute of limitations and then, not have any civil liability. Of course, there'd still be criminal liability, but civil liability for it. So it's again, it's an interesting statute I was not very familiar with until this came up. But yeah, that's interesting, Joe, because I remember when it came out, like I do remember thinking it was kind of like it was odd, but it did not shock me. Like if that were to come out today, that would be a big. It wouldn't come out, I guess, is the point today.
You're getting rated immediately. I can't recommend, if you have a band, if you're one of our listeners and you got a band and you're putting out your first album, I'm going to go ahead and official legal advice: don't put a naked child on the cover. That's going to be my advice to you. But like you said, they didn't consider the merits because of the statute of limitations issue. And I know you mentioned the potential criticism of folks saying like you could just wait this out, but it's important to remember the statute of limitations here. It's from it. The person has to have they have to know about this thing happening. They have to have knowledge of it. So I think there would be a protection from someone, just like you said, filming this or taking this and then waiting it out. In this case, they didn't get to the merits, but if you look at the merits, the law requires, personal injury or some type of damage in that sense. And I think the lawyers for Nirvana, they were trying to argue that the lawsuit's basically a money grab, and that rather than this being something that caused the individual Spencer Eldon damage, they're saying he actually embraced his part in the band's history. And you could say, well, how can they say that? That's very speculative. How can you say that this guy really embraced his role as that? And I think if you look at the fact that he literally has the album title tattooed across his chest, and he recreated the image for the band, the 25th anniversary of the album. You look at those two pieces, and it's tough to say that he's really suffered lifelong damage as a result of this. Now, again, you don't ever want to speculate as to what someone's gone through, especially in a situation like this. But two very interesting tidbits that speak to the impact this has had on him.
I feel like Mr. Eldon should sue his parents. I was like, well, his parents are the ones who signed off on this, right? I would imagine. Like
there's that, and there's the fact that, like, say, let's just say theoretically, Josh, you're a naked baby. You as a naked 1-year-old, you're on an album cover, and it comes out, and millions see it. How are they going to make that connection that it's even you in the first place? I couldn't pick you as a naked baby out of a lineup of 1,000 naked babies, Josh.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, you definitely don't want to. We don't want to make light of anybody who's obviously this law exists because there are a lot of victims out there. But yeah, I don't know if Mr. Eldon, he has kind of, I always say, turned into the skid, right? So whatever, this may have caused him some emotional trauma or what have you, but he definitely did embrace it. And the statute of limitation thing is cut and dry, right? The statute of limitations, I always use the example, Joe. You sell me a car, I don't like it. It's a contract issue. I say you breached this contract. I've got 3 years to sue you, and if I don't do it, then that's it. I can't. There's nothing else to do. And statute of limitations exist, just for that. And anyway, it's kind of it's kind of an odd statute, trying to help folks who have been victims of a crime, and a very, very a serious crime. And so it's admirable that it exists. And I don't know that statute of limitations is serving the purpose of the statute. I don't know what they're trying to protect. They might have a good argument as far as getting the statute of limitations changed or ruled unconstitutional. But then he's still got to get down to the merits, and I think he's got an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to have issues on the merits, even if you get past this issue. And with the statute of limitations, this is a situation where this wasn't something that he didn't know about. He didn't have any knowledge of. Like you said, he knew about this. This might be the most famous naked baby image that I can think of in our time. Like it's not something that crept up on anyone or that was unheard of. He knew about it for this entire period. And rather than making an issue of it at any point, he actually kind of, like you said, leaned into it. And so I think on the merits could be a tough sell, even if they beat this statute of limitations issue.
The Outlaw Lawyers, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. You can find them at all of their offices. They're everywhere. Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay, Varita, Gastonia, and Morehead City. They are the managing partners of the firm, and they are practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. So one topic down, Nirvana and naked babies. Again, the Spencer Eldon versus Nirvana case. Next up on the program, we're going to get into what is special master. That is, what is a special master. Reminder, if you've got a legal question of your own and you need an answer, you can get in touch with Whitaker and Hamer by calling 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what that call is about. An attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And you can always email your questions to the program. We'll answer them on a future show. Questions at theoutlawlawyer.com. Check out our website, theoutlawlawyer.com. We're back with more Outlaw Lawyers right after this.